Welcome to our April Power Hour, everybody. The months are flying by. It's April. I am Tessa Chappell. I live in Indiana, and Megan is joining me from Washington State. Tonight, we are going to do two layouts. The handouts, if you are not a subscriber, you can find on our website for free. And the video, of course, will show up on YouTube tomorrow for everyone to watch again if you need to go over it again or replay or whatnot. A reminder to stay on mute, if you will, to keep the recording clean, and put your questions in the chat, and we will keep track of those as we go. So we will flip down to my table and talk about my layout. If you saw, I posted online. I was pretty excited when Create Memories came out with their graduation stuff. And Emerson graduated last year, so I'm only a year behind. And I mentioned I was going to go print my photos so you could see why I chose red. And I picked them up. I told Megan that I was missing 2/3 of them from Walmart. They did not give me the full order. So I have some of them. I don't really have the layout, the photos picked out for the layout, but our school colors are red. Just as a note, if you do have school red colors, you do want to grab that Totally Tonal red pack we have right now. It has some great colors. I don't know if you probably still can't see my base paper very well, but it does have kind of a subtle tonal print to it. And so it provided the perfect background to pull in the graduation pack. The graduation pack is just a half pack. It just has 6 sheets. But it had these prints in there. It goes very well with silver and gold. So if you are going for graduation, this is from the silver and gold foiled pack. You only want to get one pack, get the foiled one instead of the tonal one for silver and gold. The border sticker also came from the silver and gold, but they did give us this fun little graduation pack of embellishments that have a lot of these words. It has a little number titles. It's a mini pack. It's only, I think, $4. You'll probably need a couple of them if you're like me. So we're going to go through how this is a pretty simple layout, easily adaptable to a lot of occasions, but I did want to show you this one with a couple of my grad photos. At least you can see why the red base will pull out the red on her gown. I will for sure be using peekaboo pockets. I have many photos, so this layout is designed to do peekaboo pockets if you have a lot. These are 4.5 by 6.5 mats. However, we'll talk about tonight, if you want to do your photos differently, how to fit those. So for the layout, you will need 2 base papers, like I just showed you with the red, and then you need 2 prints of some sort. You don't need full sheets. You can use partial sheets. This weekend was Easter, and I thought, well, if I'm going to be going to Walmart to pick up for graduation photos, I could go ahead and print the Easter one. So I printed some of the Easter photos, and I'm going to work on a layout for Campbell's book, actually. I debated about what to use, and I kept going back to this using up some of my old Cheerful Power palette from the old company, because the skirt I wore had that deep purple. We have not had a lot of collections with purple. This Cheerful palette did have some. Not traditionally an Easter palette per se, but I think it will work really nicely with this photos and for spring. So I picked out my 2 base papers. They again have this subtle tone on tone. It's a little polka dot for the blue. And then I pulled out some purple remnants I had. I'll probably use for matte. And then for the 2 prints, I decided to go with the stripes. And this one has some circles on there. So as you choose your prints, if you refer back to the handout, you can see when we cut them, your strips may go either direction. So it's okay to use a directional print, but you want to make sure that your directional print will look fine either way. Obviously with stripes, it doesn't matter if they go this way or this way, but if you have maybe like a palm tree print or something, just know if you use it one direction versus the other, your palm trees might be going to the side versus the top. So just choose based on that. In the design also, we will see both sides, the back side of the scraps. I use that. If they don't work for you, it's fine. You'll be able to choose different scraps that you have to create the little embellishment clusters. But if you're debating and you like one side of the other, also it'll work. But don't choose a completely different print. If you have your heart set on a print, go with that. We can always work in something different for your embellishment clusters if you want.
So really quick, Tessa, because there was a question, maybe you saw that about the pieces, the directional piece. Would it be when you actually cut the angles that you could just reverse? Like, so your original sample, you would just take that, say the white would be both horizontals You know what I mean? Instead of one being horizontal, one being vertical, you could have them both being horizontal to get their patterns to go right side up.
You can. We will show how you can. It depends on how you want the direction of them to go, but you can do them both across the top or down the side. If you want to do a complete mirror image, it would work fine. But if you get into wanting to switch your layout, like I did, maybe you have horizontal versus vertical. Like on this side, I went this way. On this side, I went this way, so that they're in different spots. I could go across the top. I could just do a complete mirror image also for that, and then they would be going the same direction. Kind of have to think about your photos if you're that far. That's how you want your photos to lay, where you want your open space basically on the layout. Well, it spells. You could always use the back side of it too. If you don't like it, but you do like the back, also you can do yourself. We're going to cut full 12-inch pieces. That's how I started, and then the little pieces are what I did. You could also cut partial. You really just need 9-inch for one strip and 11 for the other. So you could cut them out. No, you still won't. You would. Well, yeah, you could get 9 inches one way and then 11 the other if you wanted to cut your paper in a direction that is the same. Yes. So for your prints, like I said, you only need 2 straps. You don't have full sheets. I'm going to put these to the side. For each side, you can do a 1-page, you can do a 2-page. For each side, you will need 1 3/4. I had this strip already. I'm going to go ahead and cut that down to 1 3/4. I need a second one. I think I cut that one too short. I did. I cut 1 1/2. Cut myself another one that's truly 1 3/4. And I need those strips out of both prints. So our next step is whichever one you want to be the longer one. Doesn't really matter. I'll go with my dot. I'm going to start with this. We need to cut them both down to 11 inches. You can do them together. You can separate them. But I basically need to cut 1 inch off of both. I'm going to save these little pieces. And then I need to cut my 45-degree angle. So you decide which side you want to see on the top, and I want to see the circle print. And so I'm going to put these so that the back sides face together. So on each side of this, I see the print I want on my layout. Now I'm going to lay this down on my trimmer. So if you're using the Creative Memories 12-inch trimmer, we have this 45-degree angle. I'm going to lay my strips along that angle, and I want the point against my dotted line. Just following this up, and I'm laying these down here so the point up here of one of the corners is on your cutting line. Hold it firmly when you're ready. Start from the bottom and go up. You're going to cut off your 2 little triangles. Save those. So that's our first set of strips. So for our second set of strips, I want these to be 9 inches. Measure out the 9, and so I need to cut off the green. I'm gonna keep the blue in. I'm gonna cut off the green. You can look at your pattern. It changes and decide which I'm going to save my 3-inch pieces. And then same thing for these pieces. I'm going to put them back to back. So the prints that I want on my layout, I can see on each side. I'll lay them along my 45-degree angle. I have the point on my cutting line. Then I'm going to cut up against the triangle. So there are 4 pieces with the diagonal cut. Now we're going to talk about how you can lay these out on your layout. Where do we want them to go? So we're talking about, you have some options about adhering them. How much space do you want to give yourself? And are you going to be using vertical? Or are you going to use horizontal? I'm going to lay them actually so that the diagonal is towards the center of the layout. There we go. So if you're doing a true mirror image, your 9-inch ones are going to be, could be across the top, your long ones down the side. You could also rotate it. Rotate it in any of the directions, depending on how you want it to lay for your foot. This gives me a lot of room here for horizontal. This gives me a little bit extra room for vertical. Or if I'm not going to do mats, if I'm not going to do peekaboo, you can see you still have a pretty wide area for where you want your photos to be. So I'm going to look at my photos. I know I had some vertical. I was using my phone. I know this side I'll want to be vertical. And I would probably peekaboo one of these. Grab another. So what am I going to do over here? I have one of each. What are my options? I can just overlap one of the outer strips and do a mat over here. It's going to leave me a little bit open space. That might look awkward right now, but that's easily a spot. I'm going to come back in. I could cut a skinnier rectangle. This could easily be a title box or a journal box or something, and it's going to keep that line across my photos and maintain that kind of symmetrical feel. So if you're adapting it with photos you're not sure about, just you could overlap your banners on either side. When I did my sample layouts, it looked like this on the other side because I had horizontal photos. And so I wanted to leave that open space in the middle for the horizontal. The other thing to think about before you adhere, so if you want to, we have these little extra pieces. You have 2 sets. I chose one of them, the back of one of the triangles, so it looked different, to give myself a little filler at the junction where my pieces come together. So it looks like I have 2 choices. I could do the white with the polka dot, or I can do this lighter blue. I'll go back. I know I'm going to adhere this way with my photos. I may not see that one as much because I'm going to be overlapping. And then with that other 3 pieces, if you do a vertical presentation, you can use these 3 to build a little space down here for embellishment, titling. Even the prints look cute with nothing on them. If I was doing this layout, I should have showed you this before I flipped it. Doing horizontal. I don't have the space to create that horizontal cluster like I did here. And so that's on the handout. You can see I did some banner cuts. I layered those and then put the triangle across the top, which would be cute also. Maybe I will. I could go ahead and make this side like that just so I can go ahead and show you. still use the space down here for my journaling or something. So I'll go ahead and do that so I can show you guys how to make those. So on your handout, I did give you at the bottom. So I gave you, if your layout 1 was the left side, layout 2 was the right side. I gave you the spacing for adhering your strips based on how much room, 1/4 inch from the edge. If you want to center them, you can come down 1/2 inch when you adhere and in 1/2 inch. And like I said, for a 2-page layout, you can do a mirror image. The other option before I adhere that you can see on my, is do you want room to add in a border sticker? So if I pull down too much down here, I didn't have a lot of room for a border sticker. So when I did do this left side, I adhered these pretty close to the top and the side, but this one I adhered my spacing of the embellishment cluster up about 1/2 inch from the bottom, so I had room for the border sticker. So I chose a 6-inch border sticker. I cut it in half. I did 6 inches down here, and I did 6 inches up here. Now, if I had pushed all of this down, I would have had that sticker. It would have looked a little bit imbalanced because I would have been tight on space. If you don't have border stickers, but you want to add another additional element to the layout, this is a great spot for maybe one of your chain border maker cartridges. Maybe if you're doing a fall layout, you could do the apples or pumpkins. You could choose circle chain. The new double rickrack would be cute. Do a little rickrack along either one. So if you don't have stickers, you could find a border punch. And so because of that, that's why I recommended adhering kind of tighter to the top, so you have a little bit more room at the bottom for whatever you want to put on there. I did go through and choose. I hadn't quite narrowed down. I went through the totally tonal stickers. I keep them all in a binder now. I could pull in some of the violet color. My skirt has some violet, but I think I might actually use this foliage. I think it's close enough to the green, or I think the yellow would be a little bit too bright. Or I could keep it calm and just do like a dark purple rickrack. Maybe this one's kind of dying. So many choices, right? Pull it down. We'll see what we want to do. I'm going to adhere about 1/4 inch from the left of the layout. And that was just about 1/8 of an inch down from the top. I use my 13x13 mat. You can also grab your T-ruler. Fortunately, my print has the little polka dots, and so that actually is follow that as I adhere it down. This would be cute too, just with the blue. I'm going to keep the stripes, but if you have double-sided, you might like backside better than me. I do like to make sure I get the points of my triangles. I usually just go over the tip of it with repo where that strip's going to lay on my paper. Not wasting any of the tape. Now I have to decide which side of the triangle do I want to see. Do I want that white with the polka dot? Or do I want the blue? The other one is going to go down here. I kind of like it up here. I think that was a little too much white down there. Again, I'm going to do my corners with repo, kind of sitting right where that's going to be. Triangle up in there. I'm going to adhere my pieces down here 1/2 inch from the bottom. This is where I might be doing okay today because I do have those dots. But when I did my demo one, I had to get my T-ruler out to make sure I really was lining them up. I have two choices. My mats are going to be purple. I can go with the dots or I can pull in the stripes. I think I'm going to do the stripes. I'm going to go ahead and cut to see the purple before I decide on which border. So I'm doing 4.5 by 6.5 because I'm doing peekaboo pockets. I'm opting to have the larger mat. If I wasn't using peekaboo, I usually do more like a 1/4 inch or an 1/8 of an inch. It only looks easy because I actually thought about the papers ahead of time. The paper part's the hard part, I think. And sometimes you really don't know until you get things glued down. That's why I pulled out the extra stickers because I was like, I don't know, I need to see it all put together before I do. My photos will sit about here. They're matted on purple. So let's choose sticker. Sorry, I hit my table. This is what I did, just so you guys know. So this is one of the binders. And I went through and opened all my Totally Tonal stickers and put them in here because I found it a lot easier to flip through when I was really looking for a color palette. Most of my stuff stays in the Power Project folders. But that didn't work so well with these. I think I'm going to go with the green floral foliage. Just a little bit more of that green into the layout. Kind of extra cool. I want to cut about 6 inches of this. But I want to do it in a way that maintains not just a straight cut. So the halfway is right in here. So I'm just going to kind of cut, maintain a little bit of the foliage shape. A little bit here. I love the microchip scissors for me. I think I did okay. You guys will laugh at me. I know a lot of you have already been through this phase of life, but this year I have struggled so much with my close-up vision. I have my contacts in. I always have to have my readers on. Most of the day just wearing my regular glasses. It's so much easier, especially with the detail of scrapbooking. Okay, so I put 6 inches down here. I'm going to put my other 6 inches up here. I think it pulls in, it feels a little bit more springy, Eastery with the green. Then I'll have to go through, I did pull out spring stickers for Cheerful, did not have the purple, add more of the pink. I can pull in some of this green, I think will go with that one. I have some title stickers I will work on during Megan's layout. So I will post my final products in the group for you to see. So I have a couple of minutes real quick. I'm going to tear these down and show you how I did the little banner cut. So on this side, I'm going to tear a 1/2 inch again because I'm going to put that whole border sticker along the bottom here. It's a bit different than the left side. The papers and stickers, oh, I went all the way to the edge. Papers and stickers I'm using are from the old company. It's a collection called Cheerful. And the stickers that you just saw me pull out actually were from the edition, not the, have to find the Cheerful Spring edition, which I do have in stock actually in my shop. I might have a couple packs of cheerful bundles. I don't know. The paper sells pretty quick when I get it. Okay, so if I want to create my little cluster up here, when we have fancy punches, we have the bevel tag maker, we have the 3-in-1. I just tend to use my scissors. So I'm going to kind of go in the midpoint. I'm going to go up to that blue line on there. I'm going to cut to the middle. Cheerful was true. 12 by 12 is one of the power palettes towards the end. This is more of a traditional banner cut. On my handout, and the way I'll do this one, it's kind of doing the opposite, where I'm going to cut up from the corners. So it ends up being kind of point down. Kind of a different feel. I tend to like the point down actually more than this. I might even go back and cut that so it's point down. And then the spacing, I'm going to cluster them close together. And this one will be blue. No, I'm going to go down here actually. I'm missing a triangle. So here, up there, close together. That is the basics of my layout. I will finish the final touches while you guys work on Meggan's, and then I will post it in the group so you can see it tomorrow. Considering how much I talked at the beginning, that was less than 30 minutes.
Yeah, we might be, mine should be fairly quick too, which is always a little bit of famous last words, but we will see. All right, so welcome everybody. I'm Meggan Jax out here in what is now sunny Seattle. We have a few more hours of daylight. It's only about 5:30 here on the West Coast. So thanks for joining us. And I'm going to dive into mine. It's hopefully pretty straightforward for you. We're going to use a fun technique though with the picket fence border maker cartridge. That's really kind of the key thing of this particular layout is the this particular technique with the picket fence. So we'll go ahead and drop over here to my table. All right. So I know we had a couple questions I see popping up in chat regarding closed captions. You can go, it's under one of the settings if you need to turn off closed captions so you don't have those words coming across your screen. I believe we have a couple of members who are hard of hearing, so they have the captions on for them to be able to follow along, but you can turn them off if you don't need that kind of assistance. So for here, to this layout, I use the setup camp. I actually did this kind of in reverse. What I did is I found some pictures that I created a layout for, and then pulled those pictures to the side, created a generic layout to show you the technique itself, and then I'll use those photos as part of the demo for the example. But here you can see I used the setup camp. This is a pretty straightforward concept with the verticals and the horizontal. I know nothing flashy here. It's kind of one of those just when you just need to get your photos on the page, have a quick and easy layout. This is a great way to do it. But what I want to focus on here, though, is going to be this technique with the border maker cartridge in the middle of the page. So you may have done this type of thing before, but I really want to highlight how well picket fence works when you fold and then punch. So that's really kind of the focus for today's layout. I'm going to show you how to do it in the middle of your page. You would be able to carry this over into the sides. Of course, I could rotate my layout as needed. I can have, that's a whole different layout right there, right? The concept of the horizontal focus here, the vertical focus here. So you can really mix and match how this goes. So what you're going to need for today's layout is you're going to need a couple sheets of designer paper. Those are going to be the background pieces that will actually be punching. You will want to have designer paper for this because we are going to be folding and punching. You will not be able to fold and punch cardstock if it's too heavy. You need to use a designer paper for this technique. Before I show you my papers, I am going to quickly show you my photos. I have some pictures of my older two children when they were small. This is going to be back clear, probably 2008 or so. When we went back to the Midwest. I am from Iowa, and there is a wonderful town in central Iowa called Pella. and they have beautiful tulip time. We were there kind of at the end of tulip time. The tulips were getting to be a little bit late in their season, but my kids coming from Arizona had never seen tulips. So they thought it was actually beautiful, those flowers. You can see here, my daughter was totally enthralled with the concept of these tulips. So I did have a question come in about what do we use if we don't have the scoring blade, and I'll talk about that when it comes time to do those. An alternate if you don't have a scoring blade. So with these photos in mind, I'm actually going to pull out my sample, put that to the side for the moment. With these photos in mind, I have these, the greens with the whites, the purples, and the reds. What I did is try to find the spring collection. I wasn't getting any of the vibes that were really working for me. I wanted to highlight the rich, beautiful colors of the tulips, the deep purples and the reds. But I didn't want to go anything too pinky purple. So I went ahead and just pulled papers. I started off with a lighter background. This is out of the Serenity collection. It's just kind of a grid pattern. So it's light. I wanted the overall layout to be so light and airy. This is a springtime photo. I don't want anything too deep and too dark. Then Tessa already mentioned it, the Totally Tonals reds and the tangerine. I really like both packs. It does have a wonderful, nice red that actually kind of goes, when you're looking at those Totally Tonals, the lighter reds in the Totally Tonals matches the new red color, but there's a lot of colors that are still going to go with cranberry and crimson. So it does kind of work that whole way through those shades of red. But I liked this just kind of as a neutral red with a little bit of a pattern to it that met the red. I wanted to also do the green color. There's just kind of this olive green, the tulip leaves and stems. You have some grass. So I picked out this color, which is out of the Serenity as well, the Serenity. But now I've got some Christmas going on here, like can't have Christmas. So what I want is like, what am I going to use for this beautiful, beautiful deep purple? So I started thinking, looking through my stuff, like which colors, which collections do we have that have had that nice deep purple? And I remembered that Croptoberfest of 2021, I believe it is. I think that's when we had the sunflowers. The opposite side is that sunflower. We had this beautiful deep purple. So it kind of helped me get out of the Christmas mode by getting that purple in here. And I'm really just working with the colors that are in my photo. Here's, you can see the photo a little closer. I have all the same colors here. And for me, that was going to be best. I'm not so worried about making this using spring patterns. I'm focused on the colors. I'm going to use punches. I have the tulip punch, and I did make a little motif that we'll talk about in a little bit. All right. So those are my colors, my papers. I have 2 background papers. I'm going to be scoring and punching these papers. We're going to need to cut some pieces that will weave through the picket fence pieces that we make. I'm going to use the green for that. So the green is kind of going to be an accent. It's not going to be as much of a focus. I've got a lot of green already in the photos. And then in the directions you'll see, there's talking about using a couple of different colors of mats to anchor the photos on the page. And I'm going to be using the red and the purple for those. Give that little bit of an accent. You can see here that purple does look really nice with the blue or all the photos, and the same for the red. Just give those little bit of those colors carrying over. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to go and we have to score our paper, and then we need to punch our paper. So scoring, if you have the scoring blade for the 12-inch trimmer, that's fantastic. I have it. It's the orangish one. It works fantastic. You will just be able to find the top of your page, measure down 7 inches and score. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then I will show you an alternate option with the second sheet of paper. You're going to want to actually score both pieces of paper. You could make this a single page layout. It doesn't have to be a 2-page. You can make a single page. So I'm going to come over here. With my scoring blade, I am going to double check that I don't have too deep of a groove in my cutting line here. If you have a really deep groove, you might want to switch over and use a fresh spot. Too deep of a groove in your gray cutting mat with your scoring blade, you possibly could cut your paper through. So you don't want to do that. I'm going to come over here, measure 7 inches. There's 7. And I'm going to go ahead and score my paper. And then I will go ahead and fold the paper on that score line. So there's my paper that I have folded and scored. Now, if you do not have the, you don't have the scoring blade, maybe you're working with a different type of trimmer, or you just haven't gotten the scoring blade yet, what you're going to be able to do is you can take you'd be able to measure, use a ruler and your multi-purpose tool. This is not my favorite way to make a 12-inch scoring line. I usually reserve this type of scoring for shorter, little bursts of scoring that I need to do when I don't necessarily want to have to use my trimmer, smaller scoring lines that need to be a little bit more precise. But I'll show you here. So we're going to come over once again, the top of your paper, wherever it may be. I'm going to go ahead and line up my paper so that this is my top edge. If you have a directional paper, you'd want this to be your top edge. And I'm going to come over, it says 5 at the top, it says 7 at the bottom, and that's where I'm going to score. I'm going to use my ruler, line it up there, and I'm just going to come in with this tip and score. And I should be able to fold. The kind of the goal with the scoring is it gives you a little bit more of a crisp line, usually. Like I said, I really do prefer to use the scoring blade on this type of a fold. But there we go. We've got both pieces have been folded and scored. And you've got the papers ready to go. Now it's time to go ahead and use to get them set into the border maker system. So on the directions, I refer to the paper holder of the border maker system, and that is this piece right here, the paper holder, because it holds your paper. So one thing I want you to note when you look at this, see how I see one dark line and then I see another dark line right there. When we line this up, we're going to be coming in right to this second dark line. Now this part here, I want to talk about, try to be as even across here as you can. When I put my paper in, I'm going to line it up with that middle black line there. And I'm actually going to hold this up. It's kind of transparent. And I'm actually going to hold it up so I can see through it. And I am looking to be as even as possible. So I can see, you guys hopefully can see, I can see the black all the way across. If I bring it down, I start to see, oops, there I can see through. I'm going to push it up till I can no longer see any clear or lighter area below the black line. The reason I want you to get this as even as possible as you can is when we punch it, it's going to make sure that all of the slots that we're punching are even from side to side. All right. So I think that looks pretty good. What I'll do is I'll flip back that tray, set this down here, and now I'm going to use the Picket Fence Border Maker cartridge. This one is the measurements that I've given you are set up for this, the placement on the line, that tray, it's all set up for the Picket Fence. There will be other types of cartridges you can use that might do a similar, somewhat of a similar technique, that mirroring when you punch. You will want to experiment. I do not recommend experimenting on your pretty paper. Use some scrap letter paper, you know, your packing slip from Creative Memories. After you've confirmed that your order is all set, go ahead and, you know, fold that in half, give it a try, and see what you think of the patterns for the various border maker cartridges. You're going to want to use either an edge style Picket fence is an edge style. It does cut that outside edge, but it stays attached to the paper. Or you can use a knockout style, which is going to be this is chevron arrows. It's an edge style, or it's a knockout style, meaning it's not altering that outside edge. You can use these styles. The chain style border maker cartridges will not do this technique, because when you punch that chain, it's just going to separate completely from the paper itself. And we want that paper to stay one whole piece when we unfold it. So I'm going to be using Picket fence. And I'm just going to punch down the line. And you can see here that it does this really nice, gives me these slots. And that's what I'm going for here, is I'm going for these wider portions that I'll be able to weave that paper in and out of. So I'm going to repeat that on my second sheet of paper. Line up, and I want to try to line things up at the same spot. So I went, so I could no longer see any of the lighter bits of the tray underneath that black line. Like I said, this is a spot definitely is good to take a little bit more time to make sure you have that lined up. And once you've got it lined up, just go ahead and punch all the way down. Now, of course, this technique, I have set it up so that we have, ample space at the top and at the bottom to be able to do our page. We're going to have that border go right across the middle. You could, of course, come down at the bottom, at the top, on the sides. I believe if you measure in by 1 inch and fold, you'll be able to have a nice on the outside edge. It gives you a nice border out on the outside edge. So that gets us through the first 4 steps of our instructions. We went over, we folded, we scored and folded, punched, and now we have our slots. What you're going to want to do is you will want to have a ruler, because you're going to want to measure your slots before you start cutting the paper. So what I recommend is I'm going to measure this first one, and I'm just using my ruler coming across here, and I'm going to measure how big my opening is. My sample, my opening was 1 inch and just over 1 inch, about 1 1/16 inches. I can see right here for this one, I'm right at 1 inch, and I'm going to measure a couple of them to see where I am. Part of that is, as I mentioned before, if you were ever so slightly angled in there, you're going to have some that are a little bit bigger than the other. And you need to make sure you find your smallest slots, because you can't go any wider than your smallest slot to be able to weave your paper in. So, but I think I should be good at 1 inch for this piece. Let me double check this side, this second piece. And I'm a little bit bigger on my second. I did not have them lined up even the same, which is fine. You won't really notice the difference. I'm going to, for the one, I'm going to measure right at 1 inch. For this piece of paper, I think I can measure ever so slightly, closer to 1 inch and 1/16. Yeah, just slightly under 1 inch and 1/16. So I've got my trimmer again. I need to switch back over to my straight blade. And I'm going to grab my green paper. This is the one I decided I would be weaving through. And I'm going to measure this first one right at that inch. I'm going to experiment and see. Yeah, that's going to go through just fine. I can see there's a little bit of background here that, you can kind of see through it. That's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'd like it to be as tight as possible. But I also know that if I go super tight, it's difficult to weave. Designer paper can be a little bit challenging to weave. You, of course, for this part could use cardstock if you wanted to, maybe a shimmer paper or something like that. But it's only for this the fold and punch portion that we needed to use the designer paper. So that piece goes for that paper. This other paper needs to be just a little bit bigger, closer to 1 inch and 1/16. And I'm going to test this out. Yep, that should be good. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and weave the paper. I could go in and do the typical just over, under weaving pattern that we see with, that we're familiar with picket fence. You can do a different, if you want to have more of the chunky squares like I had in my sample, you can let me just grab that really quick. You come from the back side, go over 2 and then under, over 2 pillars and under. So that's that pattern. I think for this one, I'm just going to go ahead and do over, under, over, under. This is definitely the time-consuming part of the whole process. Cardstock is easier to weave because it's a little more rigid. I see a comment about zebra stripe. I do think zebra stripe would look good. It would be an awesome one to try. I think I had meant to go through and to come up with some different ones to show you guys. It's literally just taking a piece of printer paper, folding it, inserting it, playing around with it. It's going to let you see what folding and punching can do. You don't necessarily, I mean, I showed you with the Border Maker cartridge, you can try similar things with the different regular punches or regular border punches. You just need to make sure something that stays attached to the paper because it is, you don't want it to separate. So there is the first page. Go ahead and I'm going to weave the second one and then we will do the rest of the layout. I got to see what I can finish here in 6 minutes. It's getting to be tulip. What's that?
I don't know if we've ever actually.
I've come so close. I mean, this is supposed to be a very, it was a simple layout. The weaving, if I didn't have to weave, that I would be done. Some of the details, right? I did while you were finishing yours, getting all your pieces on, I did punch letters. I used my Cuttlebug and my metal dies to punch some letters, the titles. So I've got that all set to go on here. I am going to peekaboo pocket one thing. I have a couple of photos that I don't have room for on here, and they're important because I don't know if there's any Iowans out there, but Pella is a Dutch community. They have, they do tulip time every spring. I think it's usually like the first week of May or so is their tulip time. They have a wonderful Dutch bakery called Jarsma Bakery, and they do something called Dutch letters. And Dutch letters are probably one of my favorite desserts. They're a pastry. And Pam knows what I'm talking about. They have an almond flavored sweet paste inside of them, and they're wonderful. And so we always, whenever we go to Pella, we always go to Jarsma Bakery. I will say, Pam, I don't know. We always also used to go to Happy Joe's and get taco pizza. I don't think they have Happy Joe's there anymore, but I love taco pizza. So we get it now we can just get it from Casey's there in the Midwest. But here we go. We have those pieces. Now, next up, we're going to go ahead and move on to step number 6, which is putting across the mats for your photos. You don't have to. You could go ahead and just put on your photos if you want to use your background paper as your mat, but I'm going to cut some mats. So I am going to be using color number 1. I show is the top color, where it's kind of this bright lime green here on the across the top. That's color number 1, those pieces. I am going to be using the red for that. So I need a 6 by 12. So I'll cut this in half at 6 inches. And then I need the next piece. I need it to be 8.5, I believe. And that was actually, now that I think about it, with the size, I needed to double check. Yes, 8.5. Goes on that piece. This one is going to come in here at 8.5. That comes on this page and just goes across. We are going to cover up quite a bit of that background. You don't have to. You can make adjustments. You can use your custom cutting system, cut out some circles from behind or ovals if you needed to pull some of that color forward. And then for the next piece, I need some 4-inch strips, one of them being 12 by 4, and the other one is 6 by 4. So I'll cut 2 4 by 12. And then I will cut one of these 4 by 12s in half to get that 6-inch piece. This is actually going to be the piece I'm going to peekaboo pocket. So it will have some photos on it. I'm not sure that I like this being behind my photo. What I might be able to do is just put these 2 pieces back to back. In there, I've got some extra if I want to go all out with the purple. The photos that I have to put under it is a 4 by 6. So I might leave that as such and then have some journaling on this lighter color here. I can't find one of my photos that was going to be part of the peekaboo pocket. It ran away. So I've got to figure that part out. But these are going to come in here. The 4-inch strip goes at the bottom. And then we'll do the 6-inch piece that's supposed to be over here. As I said, I'm going to peekaboo pocket it. So I'm just going to leave it kind of just sitting there. Actually, I'm going to just tack it down. Probably for my photos that I show you guys, I'm not going to worry about the peekaboo pocket. I'm just going to tack it into place with some repositionable adhesive, and then I'll be able to pull it off and put it in the peekaboo later. So this 6 by 12 goes all the way across. This smaller 6-inch tall piece, I am going to go ahead and bring it so that it's justified here to the inside edge. I wanted it to kind of feel like there was a banner that went across from, it came in from the right side over here to the left, this side coming in here from the left and extending over to the right. You can, of course, add your mats, add your photos, however you want. I mentioned before, rotating your layout if you need to, if you don't have the same orientation of photos that I have. You might need to rotate that. But then here are my photos. So just having some fun. We stopped at this park. It's probably like a little neighborhood park. Had some of the oldest, I swear these the play structures that were there were probably the ones that would have been from when like I was a kid, practically would have been there. Actually, this one goes over here. Here's my mom pushing on the swing. And then Kevin giving us a smile. So now for the details here, I didn't have any mats that were going to fit this. So I just made a little kind of a landscape, thing here with the punches, the grass punch and the tulip punch. And this is going to come in like there. I made a 12-inch strip of this, and then I was able to cut it into sections. So this side will come over here. I need to cut this one down just a little bit more. It's a little too long, but I left it long on purpose. And I can see right now my plan for my title is going to be, I need to make an adjustment on this side over here, because I was going to have it say Playtime in Pella. Using my die cut letters, cut these out of the crimson cardstock. I really went with that nice deep. So it's going to say Playtime, and then it's supposed to say in Pella, but my letters, I can tell you, are going to be too tall. Well, I'm pretty certain they're going to be too tall. I'm going to have to cut off a little bit here at the bottom and bring this in. I might shorten this up here too, so that this bottom matches Playtime in Pella. And remember, I'm going to have a peekaboo pocket here that I'll be able to flip it up if I want to be able to write any stuff. I could spell Pella, right? That'd be great. Playtime in Pella. So that's the layout here. It's hard to see with the things, but you guys kind of see the gist there. So very simple. This technique, it's just something fun, quick and easy to do across the page there. If I wanted to, I could come in with a little circular journal box. If I wanted to journal a little bit more, I certainly have in here, I certainly could do that. So, like I said, nothing too flashy, but hey, it gets the job done, right? A page done is a page done. So, thank you guys so much for joining us. There's a question I see real quickly about my die cuts. My letter dies, those are close to my heart. Die cut, it's a retired set, unfortunately, but there are other ones out there. I think if you go to scrapbook.com, they have a lot of letter dies that you can choose from on there. Some great options. It's one of my favorites. I know everybody cuts with their Crickets, but I get analysis paralysis where I just look too hard, and I have about 10 dies or so. Honestly, I only use about 3 or 4 of them, but I have some to choose from. It's easier for me to just dial in. I have to make whatever I have work. So thank you guys for joining us. You'll see on your handouts, there's hashtags you guys can use if you share them in the Ideas and Inspiration group. Please use the hashtag. It gets you entered into our drawing. We'll do that next week. Probably have them posted no later than by the end of day on the 18th. Tessa, she always does the drawing for us because she's so good at it. She will do the drawing on probably Wednesday or Thursday, depends on what the day brings for us, or that week brings for us. And we will have, we're going to be getting all the stuff up there soon. We are going to be doing a beginning scrapbook class. It's just a quick freebie class that we're going to be doing. It's going to be on May 2nd, which is a Tuesday. So for you guys to do Power Hour with us, we're using some material from Creative Memories. We're going to show you how to do Creative Memories, what they suggest, and then we're going to give our Meggan and Tessa spin on it and show you some additional things you can do with it. But we'll have that put out here soon. It's free. You're welcome to join us if you want. If you know somebody who's new to scrapbooking that maybe wants to find out more about it, you can definitely give them the link, have them join us. We're going to show them all the joys of how we love to do scrapbooking. And we will, we'll just have a good time. You know us, we'll find some way to make it fun and interesting. We can have Tessa give us she knows everything about Creative Memories. I mean, so it's so fun to listen to her talk about stuff, and she can give you the rundown of everything historically with Creative Memories. And I'm kind of like, if it happened before 2017, I really don't know.
I've been a consultant almost half my life.
I know, and I have not. It's going to be a daytime class, so 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. we record it so you can watch it later. Tess and I have found when we compared calendars for April and May that, yeah, we don't ever have dates that line up with each other. You guys might be lucky to get a May Power Hour. I don't even know do we have a May date, Tessa? I thought we did.
It's just the second Tuesday, wherever that is.
So it's the 9th. I know that's the second Tuesday because the first one is the beginning class. So May 9th May 9th is going to be Power Hour, our typical 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. The beginning class that we're going to do is going to be Tuesday, May 2nd. It is a daytime class, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. You'll have that information will be coming out, so you'll be able to put it on your calendars. And I don't know if I have summer scrap. We are doing summer scrap. We don't have this stuff up yet for you guys to register. It will be coming soon. We're done with spring break, so now we're like looking forward to summer, right? The end of the school year. We got to get you guys all set to go. So I think that's all we have for today. Anything else, Tessa, that I forgot?
Yeah, you gotta.
Oh,
Can you show it? Are you able to even turn your camera and show us where you're gonna put your swivel carousel? I'm like so excited.
yeah. So, okay. So here's how this all went down. Okay. I think, and they may have had this in the works, but several weeks ago, Stamp and Storage, we love their products, right? They make the beautiful wood storage that you can put your punches in and all sorts of other crafting organization. And so they came out with jar storage, like if you have glitter and embossing and I don't know, all sorts of crafty stuff that I don't use, but I was like, ooh. And I messaged Tessa, I said, hey, did you see this that they're coming out? As affiliates, we get a little bit like a couple days heads up on new products. And they said, did you see this? I think you should message them and tell them they need to do this with border maker cartridges. How awesome would that be? And did you send them an email?
I don't even know. I have no idea.
Anyway, they came out with one for 8-pads. I'm like, oh, that's great. That's great. And then I read this little spot on that email and said, hey, the border maker cartridge and the punches from Creative Memories were coming soon with us. Like, right? So excited. So anyway, that came out, that announcement came out today. Tessa and I have them on their way. We're going to be getting them soon. You do have to put them together. They have a fabulous video. Apparently Tessa's going to be putting hers together on video too.
Yep.
Honestly, guys, I want her to do it live because I think it'd be hilarious.
I will do it live.
She's a competent.
The directions say 10 to 15 minutes. I'll do it live.
She's a competent individual, but I also think it would be great to watch her. And I'm tempted to make it like a drinking game, because I won't have mine yet, right? Mine will come the next day, so I don't have to worry about but it'll be fun. We'll find it. We should get that figured out. But they fit in the IKEA storage in the thing, right? So you can spin yourself, and there's 80 of them. 80 of them is, so if you have the IKEA ones, they hold 32, I think it is. Yes, 32. So it's double, right? I mean, more than double. It's going to be fantastic. And you'll be able to spin your way to find them. So guys, you're going to see my mess. I'm really sorry. Do you see those slots right there next to my table? Yeah, so I have mine in there right now, but they're turned to the side. So I can reach in there and find the ones I want, right? But I'm going to be able to spin my way. I mean, we could make this like a game. Like you could spin and randomly pick which one you want to use. Like everybody has to give their carousel a spin, and whatever punch is there is the punch you have to use for that layout, right? So we could totally make that a really fun thing to do. So they've got the 2 different styles. Pam, they should fit into the Michaels, because Tessa's got the Michaels. It's a little bit bigger, so should fit in there fine. Yeah, it's going to be pretty fantastic. So we're both very, very excited to get them. I know some of you may have already ordered those. Yeah,
I mean, if you keep ordering a new one every month, you're going to fill up what you have. So it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, I've outgrown the 2 that I have over here. I've outgrown for sure. I have 3 more on one shelf. They're the IKEA style. I am going to figure out what to do with those. And so I see some questions on there. We will be putting everything through its pace to give you guys our honest to goodness answer. The Stamp and Storage does things first class in the sense of, I mean, their stuff is really well put together. So I'm looking forward to getting those. And Tessa even talked about, you said eventually you're going to spray paint yours white, but maybe not right away. It's not part of the.
She said she did hers. I don't even know her name, the girl on the live. She did. I think I mean, I'm not gonna do that to start, but I will eventually, probably,
Yeah.
unless I really don't notice. And yeah, Jenny, I don't think you'll be able to put the border punches in the regular punch slot, because if you watched his video, he turned it on its side so you could see the top of it. And there's the way they did the carousel, there's 2 spots that the border punches will fit, and that's why it was able to be a couple. So you can do regular punches in the border spots, but I don't think you'll be able to do border in the regular one. So I mean, with as many border punches we have, it's gonna be pretty expensive to carousel all of your punches, and I don't plan to do that. Mine will mostly still stay where they are. I'm excited to have them on my table, like in my workspace, so that they're easily accessible, like for project. And then I will still keep border punches on my other containers, and then in the drawers I have my regular ones too. So I think it's a supplement, not an end all for the board.
Yeah, and for some people, you'll be able to keep yours on, if you have a large work surface, you might be able to keep them on a countertop or something. They, you know, obviously a flat surface can obviously be at a premium in crafting spaces, but if you do have the counter space, you might find that it works better on your counter space. As Tessa mentioned, those ones that just hold the regular punches might be more of your common punches. I'm thinking for me, like the square, the circle punch, current punches that I know I want to make sure I'm working with all the time, to be able to show you guys things to do with them, or other frequently used ones that I'm, working on for that time of year, right? Coming up to summer, we got to use umbrella and whatever other ones we have.
I think the only bad thing about this is we all have to count and admit how many punches we actually have, which might not be the best thing to do. Maybe not share that with your spouse if applicable. But
well, I tried to show you. I don't know if you guys can see they're they're all lined up. I can't hide that from my spouse, right? But he's super supportive, and he has hobbies that he likes to collect things that I'm kind of like, really, but he does, and so it all works out. I did tell him that's our retirement plan, right? Someday they're like the Beanie Babies. Remember the old days when the Beanie Babies came along? These are going to retain their value way more than those Beanie Babies did. So it is for work. We did taxes, and I explained how it all went down for taxes, and so it does. It gets
yeah, I submitted my healthy 5 figures today to the IRS, so I'm entitled to have whatever punches and carousel spinning makes me happy.
Linda said that she's got all of her punches numbered and cataloged, and I like that concept. I would always not put them back. No, I appreciate that level of cataloging when I want to go find something, but then I get mad that I have to adhere to it when I put things back. So. All right. So again, guys, thank you so much. We're excited about the new things that we're able to show you. We will have the stamp and storage stuff here in the look for it this week. Yeah. So this Friday, I think is going to be a preview Friday for Creative Memories. So tune in to your favorite advisor and find out all the good details. All right. So thanks so much for joining us. I do see a quick question from Janet about the stamp and storage. I don't know on stamp and storage sales. They are a little bit more sporadic, and but I know we will see one in this fall for Black Friday.
I'm sure they haven't had one in a while. So if you're not quite excited, want to wait for a sale, I'm sure there'll be one at some point this spring, or even Memorial Day or something. But we don't get much heads up on that, like only a few days, and we have had no few days notice on that. So
no. So. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us. If you joined us late or need to replay something, we'll have the recording loaded a little bit later this afternoon. I do have to run to a baseball game, so it'll take me a little bit extra, but we'll see you guys all soon. Thanks for joining us. Bye.
See you later.